Hello YouTube stackers, this is ST with Silver Stacking 101 coming to you on Laid Back Wednesday. Originally, I had intended to do a video on capital gains taxes and in particular how it applies to silver. I've had 2 requests for this topic. However, it's going to be a little bit more than what I want to get into on a Wednesday. We're coming up to the tax filing deadline. So for the next 3 laid back Wednesdays, I want to cover some interesting and funny tax scams and tidbits. Today's video is tax settlement scams. We've all seen the commercials. Do you owe the IRS $10,000 or more? Let our highly trained team of accountants, enrolled agents, CPAs, attorneys, and ex-IRS agents go to work for you to reduce your tax liability. Stop the annoying letters and phone calls. Stop the wage garnishments. And then a couple of testimonials. ABC company fought for me. The IRS said I owed $50,000. I got out for $1,000. Here's what happens. First of all, to settle a debt with IRS for less than what you owe, an IRS Form 656 offer in compromise is used. There are only 3 ways one can apply for an offer in compromise. The first is effective tax administration. Under the effective tax administration application, one says, "Hey guys, I screwed up. You let me out of this. I won't screw up no more." The IRS does not approve these. The second is doubt as to liability. This says, guys, you say I owe this money. I say I don't owe this money. Let's, instead of fighting it out, let me pay less than what you say I owe. By the time an offer in compromise is submitted, chances are most avenues of appeal has been exhausted. The IRS does not approve this. The third and final is doubt as to collectability. Hey guys, I owe this money. I know I owe this money. You know I owe this money. You can't get blood from a turnip. Well, the IRS will not approve doubt as to collectability. Why? Because maybe you're going to come into money one day. They're not going to let it slide because you find yourself in a unique position of being broke and owing tax bills. So the only 3 ways you can get it approved are never approved. I went to a conference. It had about 300 people in the conference. Now let me tell you about the makeup of the people in the conference. These are people that paid $1,000 or close to it for a 2-day seminar for continuing education. These are not H&R Block people, Jackson Hewitt, or Liberty Tax people. These are accountants and attorneys. There were 300 people in the room. One of the speakers asked, how many people in here has filed an offer in compromise at one point? 85% of the room raised their hands. How many people in here has ever got one approved? Nobody raised their hands. So when the taxpayer calls this number, they're going to take a retainer around $2,500. They're going to do an IRS 656 plus the wage collection information they have to do. Now when they file this, it ceases all collection activity while the offer is being evaluated. Hence the claim, it will stop the phone calls and the letters and the wage garnishments. Yes, it does do that. Temporarily while the evaluation process happens. Then the IRS will reject the offer in compromise. Do not waste your money if you find yourself in debt to the IRS on these 800 numbers. Find an accountant in your area that will deal with this. It's going to be much cheaper and you're going to get better advice. I cannot tell you the number of people that have came in for a consult with me, and I told them point blank, do not do an offer and compromise. I cannot ethically take your money and do it because it will not work. They leave, call the 800 number, and then they come back several months later, $2,500 lighter for retaining the services of the 800 number. Now, how are they able to offer these testimonials? Can people come up and honestly say, the IRS said I owe $50,000 and ST got me out for $1,000? Absolutely. It's happened a bunch. I'm going to give you one example how this can be done. I have had this happen many times in my career. Let's say a client inherits a house from a parent. Well, most inheritances are tax-free. The client sells the house. The client does not tell the tax practitioner about the transaction. Several months later, to a year later, the client receives a letter from the IRS. We propose the following changes to your tax return. You owe us $50,000. Let's say the house was $150,000, and I'm going to round the numbers, they're not exact. So, the client goes into conniptions about has a coronary. They come to me. They're about to cry. They didn't put it on the tax return because they thought inheritance was tax-free. So, I get the pleasure of telling the client, well, I got good news, I got bad news. The bad news is when you inherited the house, it was tax-free. When you chose to sell the house, that was a taxable event. The good news is your basis in the house is the fair market value at the time you inherited it. Let's say you sold a house for $150,000 4 months after inheriting the house. Well, we'll go back and look during that period. What was the housing inflation? Let's say it was 4% per year. Take a third of a year. That's about 1%. Round numbers. So 99% of the sales price is your basis. So you only have to pay capital gains on the 1%. Now, if I wanted to do a commercial like that, I could have these guys do a testimonial. The IRS said, we owe $50,000, but ST got me out for under $1,000. Well, yeah, but not in the context of an offer and compromise. All I did was an amendment using the laws. They didn't owe the $50,000 to begin with, so we did a change to the tax return, and they owe me about $250, $300 for doing it. So, if you ever wondered how these guys say that on TV, this is how it works. They take your money, they file the form will not be approved, so now the client still owes the money to the IRS and is out $2,500 for somebody to do a form for about 3 hours work. Pretty sad stuff. But that's the tax settlement scam. And I'm going to do 2 more tax scams on Wednesdays leading up to tax filing deadline, and capital gains tax on silver will be this Saturday's video. God bless you. Subscribe if you need to reach me offline. My email is stsilverstacker@gmail.com. God bless you. Thank you for viewing.